Okay, I've talked about this a lot to anyone that'll listen. I've talked to a lot of headers about it. Some guys say it's the craziest thing I ever heard, but it doesn't deter me. When I was growing up, follow through, and I've talked about follow through, how I disagree with that comment, because as a kid I thought follow through was that. I thought it was all the way across the horns, or it was the reason that your rope didn't go under the feet is because you didn't follow through. You didn't slap your horse in the neck, and I disagree with that. I want to talk about heading just for a minute, because just like I said, I thought follow through was that. As a kid, if I ever split the horns, it was because I didn't follow through. And no one as a kid ever told me, you let go of your rope when the tip of the rope was going the wrong way, and if that happens, all the follow through in the world doesn't help you. So here's what I think follow through is. When you shoot a basketball, when the ball leaves your hand looks like that. But as it leaves, then you have to do something with your hand. Okay, so put that aside and remember that. When I see pictures of big time headers in magazines, their hand is always, it's not on the rope. When you're at a roping school and you rope the dummy with students on the ground, they stop and they grab their slack. They've always got their slack in their hand. When you rope the dummy with a pro guy at a rodeo, even if they do split the horns, rarely if they ever do split the horns, their hand ends up clear on the left side of the rope, and their hand always looks like something. It always turns, it's always open. There's a great picture, I think, on the cover of Spin to Win, and it might be Derek Begay, I think it is, and his hand is like that. Okay, I think what those guys are doing is as the rope leaves their hand, they're trying to get their rope to spin and elongate like that. Because if you watch the rope at the national finals, it goes on like that. That's in my heading video. We talk about how the rope goes on. You know, it doesn't go on like this unless you're a beginner. Then you're roping right horn, left horn, and that's a whole nother topic. But we're talking about if you can feel the tip and how that rope spins out of your hand, and you actually follow through. But it doesn't mean that. It means that. So I want to show you on the ground. I'm gonna spin this rope out of my hand, and I want you to look at the imprint that it makes on the ground. Okay, see how that, so what that is the handhold of my rope is right there, and the tip of the rope is right there, and the hondu is about right there. And that's what hits the base of the head. So you're trying to get your rope elongated. So if you threw a loop like that at the horns and you spun it and you centered it, how could you possibly split the horns? So that's what I try to do when I head. When I get everything set up, I try to finish that loop and make that loop, I try to present it to the head in that fashion. That's what I'm trying to make my loop do. Anyway, I think that's what follow through means, and as a kid I didn't understand it. I thought it was that, and it's not. It's what you do as the rope leaves your hand. As you feel the tip go past your hand, then you're trying to elongate that loop.